Okay, let us begin. First of all, I think we need to say thank you. Thank you to a man way up there in the outer space who made sure we had a perfect weather. There are two people here today that are laying claim to ministers, but the local minister says it's mine. If it rained, it would have been Toby's. So thank you very much. So I'm Charlie McGee, and this is the remembrance ceremony for the West Point class of 1970. We'd like to welcome some people this morning. First of all, we'd like to welcome the families of two of our fallen classmates. We'll introduce them to you shortly. We'd also like to welcome our classmates, their spouses, and their families, and their extended families. I would also like to welcome other classes who have come and visited and joined us this morning, not only in the Glee Club, but others out here. We'd also like to welcome some friends who just said, I want to be with you, so we thank you very much. We were the last West Point class to have classmates die in Vietnam. No classes after us. Although there were 11 other graduates who died after our last man, there were no other class suffered a loss. Consequently, we became a bookend of history. History of Vietnam, history of the West Point. The other bookend is the class of 1949. 30 years separate us. 28 classes and classmates died. And this wall is the one thing that unites all. There was 333. There are 333 graduates named on this wall. 2/3 of their deaths occurred while we were cadets. Visualized another way, that was one funeral a week, sometimes two. Every week, 52 weeks a year for 4 years. Funeral a week, sometimes two, every week. For 52 weeks for 4 years. And that's a lot for any family to endure. And then our turn came. And that's why we're here. But first we'd like to remember some others. I'd like to remember the 58,000 other names on this wall. We went to grammar school with them. We went to high school with them. We went to other colleges and universities with them. We even played in the sandbox with some of them. Some of them were our radio telephone operators in Vietnam. There are young medics. There are the infantrymen, the artillerymen, the engineers, and the cab troopers. They were the crewmen on our aircraft. They were the aviators who in Ranger School handed us candy bars, and then weeks later in Vietnam made sure when they flew us from landing zone to landing zone that we had ammunition. Let's remember them. We know a lot of them. Secondly, let's remember those who are not on this wall. Those who came home with wounds and scars, some highly visible, some completely invisible. Some of them survived a short time, and some of them a long time. Some of them are still with us and hoping. Let's remember them, because remember also a lot of them too. Know them. And finally, let's remember the families. Not only the families of the 333 graduates, the 58,000, the nearly 3 million who served, because their loved ones were 100 times 9,000 miles. Let's remember them, the brothers and the sisters, the mothers and the fathers, the young girlfriends and the young wives, especially the young wives who are starting out with brand new marriages, and some with brand new babies. Let's remember them, and some of them are sitting here this morning. The families, I'd like to introduce you to two families that are here this morning. We have Ted and Donna Brown representing Bob. Ted and Donna are here from Indianapolis. Ted told me earlier in the week that their mother is still alive and living in Indiana. Thank you for coming. We'd also like to introduce Signe and Larry White. Signe is Mike Miner's widow. And Signe and Larry are both here from Georgia. And we'd like to introduce Jerry Miner, who is Mike's brother, who's here from California. Thank you. many of you may know, or if you don't know, I'll tell you that Larry and Jerry are also classmates of ours. So we're bookends. Bookends are strong, tough. Which we can require. Classmates that are part of this rather impressive show. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please be seated. Invocations and benedictions are standard components at any ceremony like this, but we felt we wanted to say a few more words. We wanted to say more at the front end. We wanted to say a little bit more at the back end. So we go with prologue and then prologue, setting the stage. It's an Easter Sunday morning. We're sitting in church, and in the middle of the homily, the priest says what he'd like to do is to take what he's talking about and put it in a different context. He'd like to present it in a way that something we all know, something we all respect, something we all know. My only thought is, which Washington sports team is he about to talk about? And then Father Bill Ryan said, I think I know what meets the criteria, and that's the Vietnam Wall. Sitting about 12 rows back, my only thoughts are, wow, where is he going with this? And I think there's another story there. Wow, that's obvious. It went very well, and it was beautifully integrated. And I would like to introduce for the prologue, Father Bill Ryan. Father Ryan's a Jesuit. He's assigned the Holy Trinity Parish. Read that as the parish of Georgetown University. And as to the other story, Father Ryan's father had been a member of the class in 1945.
About a century ago, in 1916 to be exact, the American poet Robert Frost had published a poem of his entitled Bending Wall. Bending Wall is a poem about springtime in New England. Two neighbors come out after the winter to repair the stone wall between their two properties because during the winter the freeze-thaw cycles disturb them as well as the hunters that have been through there. It's a dry stone border. So every spring they come together to repair the wall. One neighbor is very happy to do this because he knows that good fences make good neighbors, but the other neighbor is not quite as sure since he has pine trees on his side and the other guy has apple trees on his side. There are no animals that are going to get loose. And he wonders, as they're repairing the wall, why they're building a wall with them. Before I built a wall, I asked to know what I was falling in or falling out. And I was thinking that something there is that doesn't want the wall, that wants it down. Something there is that doesn't want the wall to word retain literally means to hold back. A retaining wall holds back the earth and creates a space in front of it. As opposed to the walls across the earth, retaining space. Today we stand in front of a wall, which is quite literally a retaining wall. It holds back the earth so that things can take place there. So that things can take place there. The kind of encounters between the black granite and the white marble on the other one of its encounters between the earth in which it's located and the sky which seems to have been originally into the bottom. Encounters between the present and the past. Encounters between the living and the dead. All hold back the earth in front of the wall. Push part on that word retain. Yes. Retain also means to hold in memory. Retain means to remember. And that is what we are here to do this morning. A ceremony of remembrance. Here at the wall, here at the retaining wall, here at the wall of remembering, here at the remembering wall. The retaining wall holds the names of those who have died in Vietnam. The retaining wall holds the reflections of those who come to this wall. The retaining wall, the wall, is a wall of remembering. And so we are here today in the space created in front of that wall for our encounter. Our encounter with the memories that wall holds. And today we ask that wall, don't hold back like your name implies. Don't hold back at all. Let those memories flood out so that we may be embraced by them and so that we may embrace them. Here at the wall, at the retaining wall, at remembering.
Frequently, ceremonies like this wait to the end to name those that we are honoring. We decided we wanted to do it up front. We asked Bill and Jerry. Those who don't know Bill, Bill was a classmate of ours, and on that Wednesday of 3 June 1970, most of us were turning in our cadet grade for Army Green, and Bill turned his in for Air Force Blue. Bill went to flight school, earned his wings, and was assigned to fly B-52. About 50 some odd missions behind him, the B-52 were shot down and Bill became a prisoner of war. First phone call we went out, one of the first phone calls, was to Bill, and there was no question. Bill was coming. I'm pleased to introduce Bill Curry.
Is now an official partner with the Vietnam 50th Commemoration Project, which recognizes all veterans who served from November 1st, 1955 through May 15th, 1975, the Vietnam era veterans for 20 years. Our generation grew up during a war in the continent. We started the Cold War, Korea, Cuban Missile Crisis, and of course Vietnam. Our class was at West Point from July 66 through June 1970. And as Charlie said, during this time, the ground war in Vietnam was at its peak, and as each class graduated, there were those whose life was short-lived as they served and they died in that war. It seemed like there was always a funeral for a former graduate to that cemetery during our years at West Point, and we learned early the true meaning of duty, honor, and country. It has been 43 years now that is still vivid in my mind how close I came to having my name on this wall at night in December of 73. Each spring I attend the POW reunion at Randolph Air Force Base. this reunion is a Leith-Rayan ceremony and a flyby by the Missing Man Monument, which depicts the missing man formation flown by the Air Force Thunderbirds. It was first flown in 1969 to honor the men and women who were POWs and MIAs in Vietnam. Although the origins of this maneuver can be traced back to World War I, it was during the Vietnam War that this maneuver became a popular formation flown during special military and civilian events. When that number 3 plane pulls up, it symbolizes that one of our comrades is no longer with us. The 11 words carved into the base of this monument sums up why we are here today, at this sacred wall, to remember our classmates who died in service to the country. It simply states, we who came home must never forget those that could not. 4 of our classmates are missing from our ranks, from their families, from their friends, and we are here today to honor them. I ask you now to please stand for the roll call. Our 3rd Regiment classmate, 1st Lieutenant Robert Pop Brown, A Company, 1st Battalion, 506th Infantry, 101st Airborne Division, U.S. Army, Republic of Vietnam, 19 October 71. Our 4th Regiment classmate, 1st Lieutenant Howard Steinfeld, C Company, 326th Engineering Battalion, 101st Airborne Division, U.S. Army, Republic of Vietnam, 10 November 71. Our 1st Regiment classmate, my Beast Barracks Fleet Year Roomman, 1st Lieutenant Richard Dick Green, F Troop, 2nd Squadron, 11th Armored Cavalry, U.S. Army, Republic of Vietnam, 3 December 71. And our 3rd Regiment classmate and one of my Air Force comrades in arms, Lieutenant John Leiner, 8th Special Operations Squadron, 374th Air Base Wing, 7th Air Force, Pilot A-37, 17 March 72. Please remain standing, claim at PAPS. Please render the appropriate military honors.
buddy. He was at my wedding party. My house just before he deployed. He said, man, he had great hair. And then there was several of them that said, he got me through use, physics, chemistry, and math. You all know what that is. So stories we wanted to tell. So we asked Bill Knowlton to tell me. Bill Knowlton will do that. For those of you that don't know Bill served in the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment in Vietnam. He was a classmate of ours. 3 years and 9 months we managed to fly him the radar and then with about 2.5 months short of graduation, club change, superintendent. And Bill's father became. By that time, Bill had already earned his front row seat at
about our fallen classmates and share some memories and moments in their lives. Before I start, I want to thank all the classmates who knew them well and shared their stories and memories with me. Their help was invaluable. Bob Brown was an Indiana boy born in South Bend and graduated from high school in Bloomington. He excelled in high school in academics and sports and carried that high-level performance in everything he did at West Point. His drive and enthusiasm was great in the Army, well known and even well-respected by his classmates. One characteristic of Bob that stood out was his selflessness. He would do anything to help his classmates. He was the manager of the plebe swim team, and during one swim meet, the team stood to win the 1-meter diving event by default because the other team had no entrants. But they had to have 2 divers competing. Seeing that West Point only had 1 diver enter, Pop quickly changed into swim trunks and entered the competition even though he was not a diver. His strategy was to watch the other plebe diver execute a dive and then try and replicate that dive himself. If they'd had YouTube at that time, I'm sure that video would have gone viral of his atrocious dives, but he got West Point the team points for the event. That attitude carried over to other areas of cadet life, which gets to why Bob Brown was known as Pop. It wasn't because he was older than his classmates, but rather because of his mature, respectful attitude towards others. He treated everyone with dignity and respect, appreciated the best in other people, and thus motivated others to do the same. He was seen as a father figure due to his academic coaching and tutoring of cadets in his regiment throughout his cadet career. One of his plebe roommates credits Pop's late-night tutoring as getting him through academics that year. Without Pop's help, he probably would not have made it past plebe year. One of the hardest required courses second class year was electrical engineering, and Pop had a gift for double E, or juice as it was known to us all. Pop took it upon himself to study a few lessons ahead and conduct research sessions with classmates to teach them the use otherwise unavailable. He truly looked out for them as a father, always enthusiastic, always energetic and positive. Pop's was recognized by selection as cadet captain and company commander, and he wore the stars of a distinguished cadet for his high academic rank. That high rank allowed Pop to choose military intelligence for his branch, and he was detailed in infantry because an infantry or combat arms detail was required of all those who went into military intelligence. At the assignments drawing, Pop volunteered for Vietnam. He wanted to serve his country in combat without thought of recognition, and he believed it was his duty as a West Point graduate to serve his nation in time of war. In September 1971, he was assigned as artillery flying in mid-October, he was seriously wounded by a landmine, leading his platoon in combat. Marshal Steinfeld was first of all a Texan. Born in Galveston, he was brought up on a farm in small-town Texas, and he never forgot his roots. Camping, hiking, hunting, other outdoor activities were where he most liked to be. Marshall's father was a career Army officer, and Marshall wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. He won a number of academic honors in high school, and he was at the top of his high school class. Under his father's guidance, Marshall worked hard to prepare himself for the physical demands of the West Point entrance examination. And his physical conditioning paid off when he got an appointment to join the class in 1970. At West Point, Marshall didn't advertise it much, but he was a distinguished cadet for much of his cadet career. He was known for his excellence in math and chemistry, and one classmate credits Marshall's willingness to help him as the only reason he passed organic chemistry. Although usually studious and hard-working, Marshall had his quirky side, and he promoted his Texas background at every opportunity by wearing cowboy boots, non-stop country music, western music blaring from his room, and a large Texas flag, are there any other flags than Texas flag, displayed in his room, and on occasion out the windows of North Area, one step ahead of the captain. The strains of "Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling," sung at full volume, could often be heard when Marshall was near. As upperclassmen, Marshall and one of his roommates decided that they wanted to be squad leaders in peace barracks, and they reasoned that shaving their heads would demonstrate how stern and serious they were. They proceeded to get straight razors, mugs, brushes to do it the old-fashioned way. However, when practice using the straight razor ended up with a bloody chunk taken out of Marshall's cheek, they scrapped that plan. Marshall chose engineers as his branch, surprising some who thought he'd pick infantry. He volunteered for Vietnam to march to the sound of the guns, and joined the 101st Airborne in the summer of 1971, partially trying to stay as far away as possible from the sloppy Delta. Assigned to an engineer battalion, in November, Marshall was leading and supervising his troops in a project repairing a chapel damaged by a typhoon when he was killed in a construction accident. In addition to the Vietnam Memorial where we are today, Marshall's name is on the Texas Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in Fair Park in Dallas. Dick Green was born in Pennsylvania but grew up in Glen Rock, New Jersey. He excelled in high school and was an Eagle Scout and won a senatorial appointment. Very quickly after he became a cadet, Dick began to develop a persona by which he became known. James Dean in Cadet Grade, Rebel Without a Cause. Dick was a great friend to his classmates when he began a 4-year battle with the National Guard, believing that the entire Army had a personal vendetta against him. Always living on the edge, and after concluding that the rules did not apply to him, Dick was a risk taker and challenged regulations at every opportunity. Known for keeping his hair as long as possible, Dick pushed the limits in this and other areas to the extent that he frequently found himself in trouble and walking punishment tours on the area. Where other cadets took pride in achieving rank and getting stripes as upperclassmen, Dick often referred to himself as the cadet first private. He was frequently busted down to that rank. But under the guise of not worrying about anything, he quietly excelled at whatever he attempted. Always ready to party, Dick drove his roommates crazy with his ability to scan the homework assignments in subjects like mathematics, Russian, double E for a few minutes, pronounce the subjects as logical, and then depart for the movie theater. Known for his trademark Camel cigarettes and Ronson lighter, Dick once bet that he could quit buying cigarettes and for 1 year would smoke only cigarettes that he would bum from people around him. His plan worked for a very long time. Dick carefully examined the options in choosing a branch and decided, like Pop Brown, to branch military intelligence, but with a 2-year detail in armor. Despite his mantra, "Don't be worried," Dick had a 5-year career. Following graduation, he went to basic course, Air School, Ranger School, and then served in a tank unit in Germany, followed by an assignment with military intelligence in Vietnam. Dick expected that he would serve a year in Germany and then go to Vietnam. When he saw that the war was winding down and that he was probably staying Army for 3 years, he volunteered for Vietnam by requesting an inter-theater transfer. He arrived in Vietnam in October of 1971 and was assigned to 2nd Squadron of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, the same squadron in which I was serving. He quickly gained a reputation as a superb platoon leader, and at one point took command of his troops after the troop commander was wounded and evacuated. Dick was killed leading a night ambush patrol in early December. Mike Miner claimed Fort Worth, Texas as home. The son and grandson of West Point graduates, Mike seemed destined for West Point at an early age. He was the president of his high school class, excelling in multiple sports, including being captain of the football and soccer teams, and was selected as both the most popular student and most likely to succeed. After winning a presidential appointment, Mike joined the class on July 1st, 1966, with his brother Jerry. He quickly demonstrated his extroverted nature. Always ready with a smile or a laugh, Mike was known as the guy who would be the catalyst who got things going and kept it interesting. One of the stars of the soccer team, Mike developed a close relationship with Coach Joe Colon, who recognized and nurtured his talent, competitiveness, and drive. But Mike was best known as a true friend who would make any task easier and even fun. He went out of his way to help classmates struggling with academics and never lost his enthusiasm and infectious self-confidence. Following his father's example, Mike was one of the few cadets in our class who chose to be commissioned in the Air Force. For those in the Air Force, assignments were linked to selection of aircraft, which occurred in flight school. Mike chose the A-37 Dragonfly, a close air support fighter jet. After completing flight training on the A-37, Mike joined the only active A-37 unit in Vietnam. On a mission in March 1972, Mike's aircraft was damaged, leaving him with only his trim controls to fly the aircraft. Using difficult maneuvers few pilots would have been able to master, Mike was able to get his aircraft back to base. Within a week, Mike was on another mission, attacking a North Vietnamese position where both he and his flight commander's aircraft took ground fire. Mike escorted his commander's aircraft back to base and allowed his comrade to land first. While circling to make his own landing, Mike was killed when his aircraft crashed after taking more ground fire. Mike was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross and the Air Medal for his actions that week. Like Marshal Steinfeld, Mike's name is on the Texas Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in Dallas, and tributes to both of them were placed in the time capsule at the Texas A&M Library. Let us remember these four young men who gave the last full measure of devotion more than 40 years ago. I leave you with the words of the British poet Robert Lawrence Binyon. They shall grow not old as we that are left. Age shall not weary them, for the years of death. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember. They are not forgotten. Please stand and join the Alumni Glee Club for singing of the chorus.
then we said, we probably need a guest speaker. And there were plenty of candidates. We thought about former professors we had. They were ready. We thought about perhaps some general officers when we were cadets, ranked as some kind of committee. We thought about perhaps some fair and balanced newscasters, and they were probably available. And then we said, let's look internally. We probably have some good candidates. And there are good candidates. We asked Bill Rhodes. Back row seat on June 3rd. There is hope. Good boy, local boy made good. Bill graduated from Harvard, entered the entertainment business, and worked for home box office for a number of years. And then in the late 80s, he moved to London, where he still lives, and came from yesterday. Bill retired recently as the CEO of MTV International after spending 20 plus years bringing music to the world everywhere from the tip of South Africa to the northern regions of Russia, from England to Japan. Using several music, rock and roll, cable Hall of Fames. He's also a UN ambassador to combat HIV/AIDS and coronavirus.
Charlie. Some of that's actually true. I think I start by just taking a minute and saying, this is Charlie's idea, it's just inspiration, and just an amazing thank you to you, Charlie, for pulling this off. So we go back a while, Charlie and I. We were roommates. He taught me about BIC, Bronx Irish Catholics. We went to branch school together. We got kicked out, and then somehow we got back in. We were Airborne Ranger, where we lost Kenny Gillingham, which is a good friend of ours we lost during Ranger School. He was our airborne buddy. He was the best man at my wedding. We were together in Vietnam, and he was there, surprisingly, unbeknownst to me, for my dad's funeral. So he's a great friend, and with his wonderful partner, Patty, Rachel. He's been there for 45 years. Great tribute to Charlie as well. So, what a great privilege it is for me to stand here and look at all these familiar faces. I love my fellow soldiers, and the friends and family and the wives. And what a great thrill it is to see Jerry Miner after 45 years, because he bailed me out of a jam, and he probably doesn't remember. Built without Bob's perseverance and dedication, and he still serves on the committee of the Vietnam Memorial. So thank you, Bob. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the times. And I'm going to start by saying thank you for your service. And I must say, whenever I come back from London, I'm always moved when I see men and women in uniform being thanked in public. Total strangers, hands eagerly outstretched, rushing up to soldiers in airports, shopping malls, and earnestly thanking them for their service to our country. Not in response to some spectacular act of valor splashed across the headlines, not in response to Purple Hearts pinned to their chest, or medals draped over their necks in the Rose Garden ceremonies. No, just a uniform, plain and simple. Thank you for your service. It even happened to me 40 years after Vietnam when I rented a car with my USSA card in North Carolina. And it never, ever fails to surprise me and move me. Now, the class of West Point, 1970, stood ready, and 148 ended up serving in Vietnam. Some of us here had fathers who graduated West Point in 1940, 41, near that first bookend. We are all part of the long gray line. My father, for example, soon after graduating in 1940, found himself under attack in Pearl Harbor, just like some of us did when we ended up in Vietnam. But this time, something was different. When we came home, we were advised to change into our civilian clothes, as if hiding a parachute the moment you hit enemy territory. Nowhere in the field were our uniforms more of a target than when we got home, whether it was in the airports or neighborhood sidewalks. Now, while I was in Vietnam, I wrote a letter home every day, sometimes twice a day. And you may remember the book and HBO movie, Letters Home. Well, when I came home, I gathered all my letters from the mail. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but it matched the mood of the country, and I've regretted it ever since. When I told my dad that I volunteered to go to Vietnam, even he said, "Why?" My mom gave my dress grays away to a hippie while I was in Vietnam. Things were bad. They were really bad. We weren't expecting parades or the brass bands that earlier soldiers had heard playing John Philip Sousa. We weren't expecting the ticker tape. But boy, did we hear a lot of music. But this was different music. Instead of Sousa, it was Jimi Hendrix. Instead of flutes, it was electric guitars. And music that was not terribly flattering. It was soul-searching lyrics. It was a music, a cultural revolution, but it was a disruption to many of us. It was Woodstock. It was psychedelic. It was imagined by John Lennon, who, if he lived, would be celebrating his 75th birthday today. It was born in the USA. It was war. What is it good for? It was blowing in the wind. And of course, Times, They Are Changing by Bob Dylan. There is a battle outside, and it is raging. It will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times, they are changing. Times were turbulent, swirling all around us. Student protests, Kent State, Walter Cronkite saying America must get out. And by the way, I feel totally at home in these airplanes coming from Vietnam. I'm just thankful that Charlie arranged not only the airplanes, but the helicopters. Later on, Hollywood didn't make us feel much better. Films like Apocalypse Now, Deer Hunter, Coming Home from the Born on the 4th of July. For a veteran, these were hard to watch. So Dylan and Lennon, well, they were right. War is often ugly. But here's the thing. What they didn't say was that most of the participants are anything but. Bill did a fantastic job bringing to life the Ford that we honor and remember today. But who are these soldiers? Well, they're young, they're dedicated, they're innocent, they're ready to serve, ready to sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice. They are from the cornfields of Iowa, or the manufacturing plants of Detroit, the steel mills in Ohio, the beaches in Florida, or the Irish families in the Bronx, like Charlie. They are captains of their high school football team, or maybe their debate team, their class presidents, their sons, their brothers, husbands, even fathers. All with one common denominator, moving from the immortality of youth to the mortality of a soldier. And dedicated women, Charlie, you said it best at the outset, are wives and partners, girlfriends, mothers, fathers. Let's not forget the pain, the anguish, the suffering of our families back home, which was sometimes greater than what we suffered in Vietnam. Duty, honor country. We heard General MacArthur utter those words in the mess hall many years ago. Now, speaking as a veteran of MTV, as well as a veteran of Vietnam, and they are very different worlds, trust me. I admit that these three words of virtue, they don't make great rock lyrics. But what they do is they make a great country. And they make a safe country. And they make a safe country made by a strong military and strong, unbelievable, amazing soldiers. These words rocked us at West Point. But even in 1970, while our friends and neighbors back home were burning their draft cards and what looked like a 4th of July fireworks, above that, above the din, our 148 members of the class of 1970, well, they heard another rhythmic beat. That last West Point class to serve in Vietnam. These virtues, duty, honor country, as well as serve with integrity, which is our class motto, these virtues, that's what makes Americans smile, especially when they see a soldier in uniform. There is something timeless, something treasured about the values that are stitched into our uniforms. Because a uniform isn't only a symbol, it's also what a soldier wears when you want to put democracy and freedom to work. Times, yes, they are changing and they always will, but not values, not integrity, and not honor. Duty, honor, country. They aren't hot topics to ask a Gallup to conduct a poll on. Service is never about popularity. Duty is never a trivial cause. You know, serving in Vietnam was the least fashionable line on any person's mind. None of us made it onto the cover of an Esquire or Rolling Stone. We didn't debate whether Vietnam was right or wrong, and we didn't run from the battle. Instead, we marched, as we were taught, to the sounds of cannons. There were respectable reasons for drafters or high lottery numbers to become conscientious objectors, but there were also important reasons to become conscientious warriors. Back then, anti-war was the most wicked brand you could adopt. Being tie-dyed in 1970 was the most predictable label you could wear. It was in fashion. Nowadays, you still see a fair number of sailors, soldiers, Marines, airmen strolling through the airports, but you don't see too many tie-dyed headbands. Being a soldier isn't a trend. It's not even a movement. It's not a call to fashion. It's a call to duty. I took my family to Vietnam last year, showed the kids, my wife, Shanti, raise your hand, my wife, with my sister, Mallory. We saw Quai Son. We went to the Ho Chi Minh Trail. We went to the Hanoi Hilton, where Bill has been. We met South Vietnamese veterans. We even had lunch with the former Viet Cong family, the former enemy. I answered the kids' questions. We told stories. We took pictures, and we exchanged a lot of stories. Vietnam is a different place now, much different. And times, they are changing. But we summon the courage to adapt. We summon the courage to change. But duty, honor, and country remain the same. Here at the memorial, right here, we bring mementos of these young lives cut short. There have been over 400,000 relics of lives stopped mid-breath, and they are now stored in a warehouse because they no longer fit anywhere else. Boots, medals, beer cans, love letters, even a custom-made Harley Davidson, complete with dog tags and painted scenes from Vietnam. Here we have the memories. We have the memories of the smell of our uniforms, the M16s, China Beach, Eli, Arclight, Snafu, situation normal, Foo Bar, beyond all recognition, Quai Son, dusters, malaria pills, diarrhea, C-130s, Hueys, Chinooks, 175s, and 155s. Incoming 122 rockets, forward air controllers, F-4s flying over our AO, Dee Dee Mao. And not to forget our delicious sea rations, especially our favorite, ham and lima beans. So this wall, right behind me, this wall unites us, ensures us that for the fallen, their memory does not fade. There is no political statement, no more controversy. There are only memories and only respect. When you polish a name, and if you haven't done it, I know most of us have, but when you polish a name, which we'll do, on the black granite, you see your reflection. You see your reflection like a mirror. People put both hands on the wall to feel the weight in their palms. Vietnam weighs on us. The gravity in our lives, something hard to grasp. But there is also solace, seeing the names not only of a father, a brother, or a son, but also the names of other fathers, brothers, and sons. The reflection will remain, reflecting forever all of us in our sense of honor, our call to service, and our reflex to duty. Calling all on us to do good things with our life. The day will come when the last child will visit a fallen father here. Also, when the last teddy bear will be left by a name. The day will come when the last living Vietnam veteran will stand tall and salute his brothers in arms. But these names on the wall will live and remain forever. Today we salute these men. We salute Bob. We salute Marshall. We salute Dick. And we salute Mike. And we also salute 58,000 others. The wall will stand. West Point will stand. The country will stand. And it will continue to be defended and made safe by men and women yet unborn in Texas, New Jersey, or California, all across the land. And like the men and women who we commemorate today, they shall protect with valor the imperishable, the incorruptible granite, principles of freedom and honor, duty, honor, country. May these names of our lost brothers pass eternally into the memories of those many, many millions who owe them their freedom. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm going to try to follow the Beatitude for guest ministers, which is, blessed are the brief, for they will be called back. Serve with integrity, the class of 70. We're the bookend
class for this enduring monument to the memory of those who gave their lives in Vietnam. Our classmates, Bob, Dick, Mike, and Marshall, they exemplified our class motto in their all too brief stay on this earth. We all remember cheering at Mikey Stadium when the fourth quarter came around, regardless whether the game was going to be a victory, whether victory was probable, uncertain, or absolutely impossible. We would stand there and say, fourth quarter's ours. So, classmates, here we are, and what the statistics say is our fourth quarter. So I want to encourage us to live lives that will honor the passing of our dear classmates that we love. As we close this memorial ceremony, let's look forward and consider what it means to honor the sacrifices that were made by Bob and Dick and Mike and Marshall. As an infantry officer, I like to keep it simple. And when I look at honor and honoring our brothers, it looks to me as if you have to give your life in battle, it's worth it if the country you gave it for is a good country. And these four guys exemplify the goodness of America. America is good because we are a nation of dreamers and doers and inventors and artists, and we exalt in achievement and we rebound from failure, and we encourage one another every step of the way. America is good because we live by a simple creed: love your neighbor. America is good because the people are good, because they believe in a God of love. America is good because we are reluctant to go to war, but we are unafraid to stand up to thugs and tyrants and bullies. America is good because when we fight by the rules, and when we win, we look back and make our enemies into our friends. America is good because even when we see our sin, we do something about it, and we consistently evaluate whether or not we are living up to our creed. America is good because we look out for the liberty of others, and even if it means laying down our lives on a lonely battlefield, we still stand up for liberty and the liberty of others. America is good because her mission is peace, her purpose is protection, her provision is prosperity, her lifeblood is liberty. So, as we leave this gathering in front of this enduring wall, we want to look at the years that we do have left in our fourth quarter, and let's make it our purpose, with every decision, with every conversation, with every investment of our treasure and our energy, that we would live to make this good country even better, and thereby to honor the sacrifices of Bob and Dick and Marshall and Mike. Because they're good Americans, and they deserve to have died for a good country. Class of 70, fourth quarter's ours. God bless you all, and God bless America. Would you please stand for the West Point alma mater?
strong and tough and required. What a bookend. So they hold together all those things we know and love. We've got our full book. We thank everybody for coming this morning. Up to the administrative council, what we like to do right now is take this wreath and lay it at the crux of the monument. Village Jury, Bill Knowlton will lead with the wreath, joined by the Browns, the Whites, and Jerry Minor, and all of us following. After that, those are going to the reception. Good luck in trying to get to the town. Somebody went down there and said the police are there, but can't get the normal route, 6 blocks, take a left. Washington's a pretty city to tour around as you work your way over. So thank you very much for coming. Looking forward to see all of you here next time. Thank you.